Onpassive today is in the last mile, and Ash Mufareh in the last 2 weeks has come out and been on several webinars, and I want to talk about what Ash has said over the last 2 weeks. Pretty extraordinary. But I want to talk about the last mile to start with. You know, the last mile is always the hardest mile to get through. Whether it's athletics, whether it's business, whether it's spiritual. That little last surge is always the most difficult to get through. Now, I know Ash Mufareh, he has the discipline and he has the endurance to do that. No problem whatsoever. But it's important for you and I to understand that last mile, it does take discipline, it does take endurance, and you have to get through it if you want to get to that promised land. So the last mile, it's a really, really difficult place to be. I can tell you that from experience throughout my life. But I can tell you, once you get through that last mile, once you get to that place where you want to be, it's a really, really good place to be. So when you're thinking about Onpassive, where we're at, and we're getting very, very close, that last mile, get the discipline, get the endurance that you need to get through that last mile. Do what you need to do to make sure you're there at the finish line, or with Onpassive, the start line. Because as we go into the global launch of Onpassive, that's when everything really starts. That's when everything gets really, really exciting. So the last 2 weeks, on Ash Mufareh, Mr. Mufareh, has really he's really backed up the dump truck and just unloaded on all of us. The last two meetings, week and a half ago Monday, and then last Monday, what what Ash showed us was really extraordinary. And as we look at the last couple of weeks, the last week that Ash, 2 weeks ago, Ash came on. It was extraordinary, and he did unload on us. He gave us a lot of stuff very, very quickly, didn't spend a whole lot of time with us, and then he had to go. And the heads were just spinning. And everything that Ash said 2 weeks ago, one thing stuck out with me. And this is really, really important, if you didn't catch it, to understand what Ash said. About midway through, as Ash was talking, he came out and he said, listen, I want to start selling. I want Onpassive to sell. That's what I want to do. That's where we're at. The ecosystem of Onpassive, pretty much done. They're working on a few things, but pretty much done. Ash wants to sell, okay? Now, if you caught that, what does that mean? He wants to sell, okay? Ash Mufareh wants to go into the global launch of Onpassive, pure and simple. He wants to start selling the products of Onpassive. He knows how good they are. He knows how successful they're going to be. He knows when we go into the global launch, it is going to be an explosion. He wants to start selling. Ash Mufareh has never said that before in the 3 years that I've known him and the 3 years that I've been in Onpassive. He has never talked about selling. So when Ash comes on and he says he wants to start selling, your ears need to perk up, because it tells you where we're at. Does it give you a launch date? No, it doesn't. But it tells you where we're at. It tells you how close we're getting. It shows you how complete the ecosystem of Onpassive is. And that's the product, that's the tech team, that's everything involved with going into the global launch of Onpassive. So when he said that, my ears went up right away, because I had never heard that before. So when you hear Ash Mufareh start talking about selling, that's a really, really good sign. Now, last week, he came, not last week, but last Monday. Today's Thursday. It's the 10th of February. And Monday he came on. And again, he just unloaded on us. I mean, he threw so many things at us that, it was amazing just to listen to him. And when he got done, I was speechless, totally speechless. Now, I know there were a lot of founders that were, and this was a founders meeting, but Ash said, let it go, break it loose. You can share this stuff. So I'm sharing some of it, not all of it, but some of it. Some of the founders, when they got done listening to Ash, they were dumbfounded, but it also scared them. And again, you have to understand how Ash speaks to us, you have to be able to read between the lines and you have to know what he's saying. And some people don't get that yet. And as Ash came on and just totally unloaded on us, and I'll talk about a couple of things he discussed with us, a lot of founders went, oh, my goodness, Onpassive, it's going to take at least another year, maybe two, before Onpassive launches. And I understand their thought process because Ash threw a lot of stuff at us, new stuff at us. And as these people were, as some of the founding people were thinking, and I've heard this, they've gotten in touch with me, they've talked to me, and it's just not the way you think about it. As you think about Onpassive, and you think about Onpassive being complete and launching to the world, okay? That's how most people think about it. Ash will finish, he'll be complete and launch to the world. It's not how it works. Onpassive will never be complete. It will never be done. It will never be innovative. It will never be looking at new products and bringing them online because they see there's a market there that we can come into, improve that market, and make it better, lower price point. So Onpassive, when you look at it, it will never be totally done. Ash Mufareh, I mean, he's brilliant about this stuff. He comes up with ideas every day. And he has told us that if he had the time, he didn't have to deal with the day-to-day stuff with Onpassive getting to the global launch. He would be coming out with products almost weekly. And I believe that. I mean, that's the way Ash's mind works. He's absolutely genius about coming up with ideas that no one else has, i.e. Onpassive, okay? So he would be coming out with ideas always. Now, he does that anyway, but he doesn't do it as much because of the work involved with getting Onpassive to the global launch, okay? But he does it all the time. So when you look at Onpassive and Ash starts to get on one of his roles and he really starts to share stuff with us, understand this is Onpassive moving into the future. Not only today, but moving into the future. It will never stop growing. It will never stop innovating. It will never stop coming up with new products to change the world, okay? And Ash did that last Monday. I mean, he was throwing stuff out there, and I'm going, whoa, whoa. I always say this, and Marty says it, Dan says it. We always think Onpassive just can't get any bigger than it is because it's massive right now. It's absolutely massive. Well, Monday, Ash came out, talked about some other things, and I went, nope, it's bigger. It's bigger than I thought. And I'll talk about a couple of those. So when you hear Ash talk about that, it doesn't mean that the global launch won't come until 2025, 2026. That's not what he's talking about, okay? Now, I have talked about the global launch for 3 years. And as many of you know, I've actually put timeframes out there. This is me. This is Mike Ellis. This is what I do. I project. I think about when it's going to happen. And I've been wrong every time, okay? And all of you know that. I will not put a time frame out there anymore. I'm going to let Ash Mufareh do that. Do I know when the launch of Onpassive is going to be? I think I have a pretty good idea, but I've done that before and I've been wrong, so I won't do that anymore. I'm going to let Ash do that. I don't know when the launch is going to be. Is it going to be in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year? I don't know. But Ash, believe me, when he starts to talk about selling, you need to understand that we're closer than you think. Read between the lines. And that's what he did 2 weeks ago. So let's talk a little about what Ash went over last Monday. Again, he rolled that dump truck back and he just unloaded on all of us. And he did tell us that, hey, you guys can let this fly. You share whatever you want to share. And I'm not going to share everything today with you all, but I do want to share a couple of things. And the first thing is the ad campaign that's coming. And Ash has talked about this several times. And people don't quite understand what's happening with the ad campaign that Ash Mufareh is going to be running for all of us. And Ash talked about it just a little bit. Again, it was extraordinary. The ad campaign that Ash is going to be running very, very shortly, and hasn't started yet, is going to be bigger than any ad campaign in the history of business, in the history of the online marketing. It is going to be massive, and it's not going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. It's going to be tens of millions of dollars. What does that tell us? What does that do for you and I as founding members of Onpassive? Okay, number one, If you start an ad campaign, you need something to sell. Right? Let's stop there just for a second. When you look at the founder position, people can come in today, become a founding member, and lock themselves into the corporate structure of Onpassive and into the pay structure of Onpassive. That will end, okay? And when it ends, it'll never stop. It'll never start back up, and there will not be an interim position that people can come in and participate with Onpassive, okay? So we know that, we understand that the ad campaign comes in, the founding position is no longer available. There's not an interim position available. The ad campaign starts. What happens? I mean, if you have an ad campaign, you have to sell something. You have to offer something. There has to be something there for people. What happens? Well, it's the products of Onpassive. And believe me, when people see the products of Onpassive, they're going to love them. Superior, lower price point, they're going to flock in, they're going to buy. What does that mean with Onpassive? It's the global launch of Onpassive, guys. If the ad campaign starts, we're either in the global launch or very, very close to the global launch. I don't know which. Ash Mufareh is going to tell us that. Believe me, Mr. Mufareh will not keep this stuff secret from us. When it's here, he's going to tell us about it. But when you think about the ad campaigns, where are we? Again, read between the lines. And Ash said that. You guys, I'm not going to explain everything to you. Read between the lines. He said that on Monday's webinar. So take him at his word. He's telling us a great deal if we'll listen. So the ad campaign, it's a big deal. And it's going to happen sooner than later. What does that tell us? Read between the lines. Okay. Another thing he talked about was the data center. We know that the data center is going to be ready this year. Okay. 2 weeks ago, Ash talked about it. He said 2.5 months. He didn't say that in the last webinar. He said it's going to be ready this year. I don't think that really means anything in particular, whether it's 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is, whatever it takes to get the data center ready to go. When you think about the data center, think about Amazon and think about Amazon's total revenue, total profits that they bring in to Amazon. You would think it would be the shipping of materials, the books, all the products that are sold on Amazon. It's not. The most profitable part of Amazon is their data center. Okay, Onpassive is working on a data center. I know what Ash does. I know how his technicians work. It'll be superior. It'll be better than anything out there, and it'll be at a price that is fair and affordable. Okay. Again, businesses, if they can save 100,000, $500,000, $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, they will flock into the data center of Onpassive and use it. It's going to be as good. It's going to be superior to any other data center out there. And when businesses come in, they're going to see just how seamless it is. They're going to love it. So the data center of Onpassive, when it's done, and I don't know if it's going to be done before the launch, before the global launch of Onpassive or after the global launch of Onpassive, it doesn't really matter. When it's done, everything in Onpassive will migrate over into that data center. This is a really, really big, this again is one of those products, one of those ideas Ash Mufareh has and then makes it a reality. The data center, what it will do for Onpassive, what it will do for those individuals participating with Onpassive is massive. The data center is as big, if not bigger, than any other product or niche that Onpassive will be in the next month and a half, 2 months, whatever it is. Okay? It is massive. Again, this is just another stream of revenue for you and I as founding members, as people participating with Onpassive that Ash Mufareh is producing for us. Okay, now the data center, I didn't do anything to get that. I didn't help him produce that. I didn't help him do the technology involved to produce a data center. I didn't do any of that. This is Ash Mufareh. This is the heart of Ash Mufareh. Whatever he develops in Onpassive, he's going to share some of that wealth with the founding members of Onpassive. Okay. Now, how that's going to be structured, I don't know. I don't even care. I know Ash is fair. I know he takes care of us. I know as we move forward in the global launch, it's just game over financially. We just don't have to worry about it. Things get really, really fun when we get into the global launch. So that's the data center. He talked about one other thing, that I'll share with you today. He talked a lot about a lot of other things, but these are things that just struck me. I went, whoa, 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 and they really were amazing. So the next thing is the product side of Onpassive. Now, Ash had talked about this in the past, that Onpassive will have products in the future. Okay, in other words, brick and mortar products. Maybe it's a cell phone, maybe it's an iPad, maybe it's a computer. I don't know what the products are going to be. I know they're going to be high-tech products. That's what we are. We're a high-tech company. But I don't know which products Ash and his team will develop. But Ash told us that there are going to be a number of products, a pretty big number of products. And I'm not even going to tell you the number he used, guys, because it just blows you away. It's bigger. I'll just tell you it's bigger than 10, okay? And even that, 10 high-tech products marketing to the world. I mean, you think of Apple, they have, I don't know how many products they have. What do they have? 3, 4, maybe 5. They've got the phone, they got the computer and iPad, maybe some other little digital products that they have. And they're multi-billion-dollar company. Onpassive is going to have that many and more. We'll stay with 10. But when you think about the physical products of Onpassive, and you think about having the opportunity to participate with Onpassive, with everything that they have, all the IT products, informational technology products, the AI, all the products that they have, you think about that and you go, this is just going to be so cool. I mean, to be able to participate with a company that is going to be as big as they're going to be, and then they bring in physical products. I can tell you, Onpassive, of course, they're never going to be done. Ash Mufareh will never stop developing and bringing in new products. But they're going to be one of the biggest companies in the world, if not the biggest company in the world. And I get to participate that as a little founder. And Onpassive is going to share the wealth with me. Onpassive just keeps getting better every single week, okay? I have an idea when I think Onpassive is going to launch. I've talked to Marty, I've talked to Dan, I've talked to a few other people. Have an idea when it's going to happen, but I'm not going to share that with you. Onpassive, that's for Ash Mufareh to come out and tell us when we're ready to go into the global launch. Everything Ash Mufareh is doing now is necessary, is critical to be able to go into the global launch of Onpassive. This is the last mile. This is the hardest part of Onpassive. What Ash and his team, what Mr. Mufareh and his team is doing right now, is the hardest part of the journey. You have to understand that. And I know if you've been in athletics, I know if you've been in business, I know if you have a spiritual journey, you know the last mile is the hardest mile to go, but it's also the most fulfilling mile. And Ash Mufareh, he has the endurance, he has the stamina to get through that last mile and really bring us in on his coattails. So you need to understand where we're at, where we're going, read between the lines, and then get that endurance, get that discipline to do what's necessary, whatever you have to do what's necessary to get to that place, that finish line that Ash Mufareh is taking us. And when we get to the finish line, yeah, it's a finish line for the global launch of Onpassive, but that's just where Onpassive gets started. This is where it gets really, really fun. This is where all the apples start moving. This is where your life changes, your financial life changes in many, many different ways. And that's probably already happened in your mindset. It has for me. It has for many, many different founders. But start to think about where we're going to be very, very quickly. Again, I'm not going to share a date with you. I'll let Ash do that. But we're there. We're in the last mile. It's a very, very difficult mile, but we're going to get through it. We're going to get to that place where we get into the global launch of Onpassive. And then, guys, watch out. It's going to be, it's just going to be absolutely awesome. If you don't get through that last mile, you're going to wish you had. I've been on both sides of the coin. I've been at places where I didn't quite make it, and I always felt that I cut myself short. And then I've been in places where I did make it, and it's always a better place to be when you finish that last mile. I'll tell you from experience, guys, do not let this slip through your hands. Do whatever you have to do, have the discipline and the endurance to get to where we need to be. you will not be disappointed with what you've done, because this is also your journey. Yes, it's Ash Mufareh's. Yes, it's Onpassive, but this is your journey too. And don't let this one slip through your hand. Get to that place where you finish. And from there, believe me, we're going to have a ball. I mean, everybody's going to have a ball. So this was the last 2 weeks. Very, very exciting. Ash is coming out once a week, right? He's about once a week now. He's very, very busy. And he always gives us new stuff now. I mean, he's sharing a ton of things. And everything that he shared with us in Onpassive today is still only about 12, maybe 15%. There's so much more, and it's better than what we've heard. So this is Onpassive. We're in the last mile. Come in, join us. You won't regret it. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, go on down below, click the button, or go on down below, subscribe, and click the button on the right, and you'll get notifications as I do new videos. I'm going to have a couple coming out that will have some it'll have some interesting information for you, what's going on, where we're going, that type of thing. So stay tuned. We're just starting, guys. Things are getting better, more and more exciting. This is Onpassive, and it's been that way for me for 3 years, and it's still that way. And Ash Mufareh, he doesn't make it dull. It's always exciting. So that's it for today, guys. Have a great weekend coming up. And we'll chat with you probably early next week. Take care, and we'll absolutely see you at the top. Bye.